Recording in progress.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Ms. Lawrence.
Mr. Haas?
Here.
Ms. Krishnowski? Here. Mr. Liscavige? Here. Ms. McDermott? Here. Mr. Perry? Here. Mr. Sabatino?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Stevenson? Here. Mr. Thornton?
Here.
Mr. Wilovich?
Here.
Mr. Lombardo?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Before we get into the agenda, Mr. Skeen, would you please announce the executive session?
Yes. This evening, prior to this meeting, we had an executive session to discuss a litigation matter having to do with an accident that occurred on one of our roadways.
All right, thank you very much. We have no recognitions or ceremonial proclamations today. Are there any deletions from the voting session agenda? Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is adopted. We'll now have public comment on voting session agenda items only. I have a few slips up here and an email. I'll go through the slips first. First, we have Joseph Mangan.
Non-agenda, please.
Non-agenda? Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Griffith?
Evening, Council. On the agenda, item number 8, I would like to address the Council regarding the modification of the ARPA funds for Keystone Mission. When I looked at the agenda item that was in your packet under the Keystone Mission, they were originally awarded $500,000 to change blighted property into shelters for people who are homeless. Their modification now is asking for us to give them the $500,000 to modify the lease space at the Thomas C. Thomas building. That's a big difference. The blighted property is something totally different. If they're going to refurbish blighted property, that's a win for the community and certainly a win for the homeless people who need a place to stay. We're going to take $500,000 now. We're going to remodel the Thomas C. Thomas building for 4 families to stay there, according to your agenda submittal. We're going to not only give them a place to stay, but we're going to furnish, Children and Youth is going to furnish it on their dime. We're going to pay to refurbish the whole building to make it suitable for people for 4 families, and it's a leased structure. What's the lease agreement say? After 5 years, when the lease is over, does Thomas C. Thomas end up with 4 apartments that he could rent out and make money on it? Because he could cancel the lease. Is there any language in the lease that says the Thomas C. Thomas building is going to be renovated by Missions, Keystone Missions, and they have to, if they leave, then there's some remuneration back to the county? There's a problem with giving $500,000 to remodel somebody else's property with no strings attached and then no lease agreement that I don't know if council's got a lease agreement on that property or not. They may have. The other problem is if you drive by that property in the morning, on any given day, you'll see people sleeping on the street, you'll see people sleeping on the ramps, you'll see people sleeping in the back of the property, not inside the building. It's unsightly for the neighborhood. It doesn't look good. If they have a property there, those people should be inside. Either there's poor management or some problem going on, but those people should definitely be inside, not sleeping on the sidewalk. But we have $500,000 on that item that needs to be considered by council. I personally think that we should not be spending money to lease somebody else's property without at least looking at the lease to see there's some agreement. The other item is item number 17, and that's the one for the Government Study Commission. I attended their meetings. There was no discussion at all about taking care of our sheriffs or our IT department who are going to be taking care of these meetings for those people. Their budget just gives a vague statement about clerical, legal, advertising, no itemization at all. Our IT department comes here to service a government study commission that is not part of this government. They are an independent body. They should have their own bank account. They should be totally independent. Yet we're going to supply them IT people free, and we're also going to give them sheriffs. It costs us about $100 an hour, $150 an hour for us to supply that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Griffith.
We need to not introduce that ordinance. Send it back to them.
Thank you. Next up, we have Danielle O'Keefe Alexandra.
Hi, good afternoon. Good evening. My name is Danielle Keith Alexandria, and I'm representing Keystone Mission to speak about the modification of the grant that was originally awarded to us. The grant amount that was awarded for a blighted property to correct was $312,403. That was for the purchase of a blighted building to house 4 children and youth families. That included, according to the grant, purchasing and renovation. After we opened up the Innovation Center at the Thomas C. Thomas Building, in October, we, of course, make sure that staff and the programs were up and running there, after which I went ahead and started looking for a property and really couldn't find a property for this amount that would house 4 units. I looked all around in the county. The amounts that we were getting were above the amount, the awarded amount, which was $312,403. So I spoke with the owner, but before that, we sent a modification request on June 24th to ask if it was okay if the county would consider us leasing. I don't know if anyone.
Do you have any other comments?
The other comment is that we're open to sharing the lease amount and all of that, but we did look, and we could not find anything for $312,000 and $403.
Miss Keith Alexander, would
Yes,
you
sir.
mind staying just during the voting session in case we have any questions when it comes time to actually vote on this item? Would
Sure.
that be okay? Just because this is public comment period, so it's not really our opportunity to
I'm
ask
so
you
sorry.
to do a back and forth.
Okay.
But no, it's okay. It's okay that you came up and spoke, but we just may have some questions for you, so
Sure.
we might just ask them during the actual meeting, if
Not
that's
a
okay.
problem. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Next up, we have Dr. Christine Wysocki.
Sorry, short. Good evening, Council. So I'm here my name's Dr. Christine Wysocki. I'm from Drums, Pennsylvania. I'm here to speak on the work agenda, item number 3.
Oh.
Oh, is it work? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, this
Am
is
I
on the
wrong
work
one?
session. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah. That's okay. Okay. I think that's all we have for the voting session. Oh, I'm sorry. It says non-agenda item.
I just found it on Tuesday.
Okay, that's okay. All right, Ms. Malcolmus.
My name is Cindy Malcolmus from Dallas Township. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. As a treasurer of the Luzerne County Government Study Commission, I want to stress the critical importance of maintaining our financial independence and transparency as we carry out our mandate. The Home Rule Law explicitly requires the Commission to keep a strict accounting of its funds. Our final report must include a sworn statement by the Commission members detailing every fund, good, material, and service, both public and private, used by the Commission in the discharge of its duties. This is not just a formality, it's a legal obligation that underscores the seriousness of our financial stewardship. We must include all encumbered and anticipated expenditures in this report, and a final financial report must be made to the municipality upon the termination of the Commission. Given these requirements, it is absolutely essential that the Commission manages its own finances separate from the county. The Commission is an independent entity governed by state law, not by the county government. Our ability to approve expenditures should not and must not fall under county control. Allowing this would compromise the integrity of our work and could potentially introduce conflicts of interest that would undermine our mission. Furthermore, state law allows the Commission to accept private funds in addition to public resources. This provision is crucial as it ensures we have the flexibility to secure the necessary resources to fulfill our mandate effectively. Maintaining a separate bank account managed independently by the Commission is not just a matter of practicality, it's a matter of legal compliance and ethic responsibility. As the treasurer, I'm committed to ensuring that every financial decision made by this Commission is transparent, accountable, and in full compliance with the law. We are here to serve the people of Luzerne County, and that means protecting the integrity of this process from start to finish. By keeping our financial operations independent, we safeguard the trust that the public has placed in us to do this work fairly and without external influence. I urge you to respect the legal framework governing the Government Study Commission and support our request to manage our funds independently. This independence is not just a preference, it's a legal necessity that ensures we can fulfill our duties with the transparency and integrity that the residents of Luzerne County deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolmus. Anybody else in the audience for public comment on agenda items only? Mr. Grantede?
Joe Grantede, Plains Township. I just spent numerous hours here when you were doing the ARPA budgeting and discussions and everything else, voting. And I'm just wondering if all these modifications are modifications to businesses that have always been on this list, or are you modifying it to put new people on? Because there's some names on here I don't recognize, never heard before being on the list.
No, Mr. Grantede. Every business, every organization that's on this list is one that we either originally awarded money to or awarded money to subsequently in public meetings. None of this has been done.
None of it's new business or anything like that?
None of them.
Number 7, any NEPA inclusive.
That was on the original list.
That was on the original
Yes.
list? I'm just curious as to why they have 26 board members for a small nonprofit like that.
You would have to speak
And
to the. You'd
are
have to
they-
speak to the director of the nonprofit yourself.
Are they on the payroll?
That's the
That's not
question you'd have
something
to-
that we,
You'd have to ask the director of the nonprofit. I can certainly give you their phone number. I personally know them.
yeah, I
think
know.
other people
I
on
know
this-
who
on
it
this
is
board
too,
know.
but
Yeah, you can.
I was
speak to them
surprised to
yourself.
find out there were so many people involved in that organization. And, okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Grantede. Anybody else for public comment in the audience? All right, I'll read the email first, and then we'll go to the Zoom. This email is from Michaeline's Mission. It says, good morning. I've been in contact with the SCA regarding funding here for many reasons. With the huge gap in services, I was told that funds only go to new routes and also Northumberland County, which northbound company, is not even in Luzerne County. It's in Monroe County. We have huge gaps in addiction, part of everything here. I find it very difficult to only care about funding one recovery center, which has many complaints to CCBH, and especially a program not in this county. I've asked many times, where is the LEDI program funds? That is supposed to keep people out of LCCF and get treatment. And now to yet again opioid settlement funding, same thing wasted on programs that have existed. You cannot keep doing the same thing and expect changes here. Pam. All right. Right. Okay. Mr. Malakari? Mr. Malakari, I think you're unmuted.
Yes, you were correct. Sorry there, Chairman.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Yep, good evening, members of the Luzerne County Council. I'm here as a member of the Luzerne County Government Study Commission, but I do want to emphasize, I'm not speaking on behalf of our commission. The Government Study Commission is a body entrusted by the people of the county to scrutinize, evaluate, and ultimately enhance the way our government operates. It's not just a task, it's a responsibility, one that ensures that our government reflects the values, needs, and expectations of every resident here in Luzerne County. The allocation of funding for our commission is about empowering an independent body to do what's right for the community, free from external influence, just as Mr. Griffith said. We are here to protect the public interest, which requires complete independence operationally and financially. With that, I ask County Council approve the funding request, but allow the funding to be transferred to the GSC fully so the commission is able to set up their own bank account free from county control. We cannot and must not allow the funding for this commission to be entangled with the county's general finances. While the county has a legal obligation set by state law to fund the commission, our mission and state law demands we operate with complete autonomy, free from the potential conflicts of interest. The people of the county deserve a commission that is solely focused on the task at hand and working for them, not political interests. Furthermore, let's not forget the Government Study Commission is governed by state law, not local home rule. This commission does not fall under the authority of local government. It falls under the authority of the Commonwealth. This should have been known by those who voted for the commission that sit here tonight, or at least should have been advised of such. This legal distinction is critical and highlights why our commission must remain independent from any local government influence. By ensuring that our funding is held in a separate, independent account, we are protecting the essence of what this commission is supposed to represent, an unbiased, objective body that answers only to the people of the county. You all know that there have been previous commissions that set out to do the work of the people, and these commissions were fettered by those who sought to stymie the process. Let's find common ground, and let's do our work together, the work that you set out for us to do. I urge you, with all the respect and responsibility that this position holds, to improve the necessary funding for the Study Commission and ensure that it is managed independently. The future of Luzerne County depends on the work we do today. Let's make sure the work is done right, free from undue influence and in the best interest of all residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malakari. Mr. Schaefer?
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm Mark Schaefer. I, as well, am a member of the Government Study Commission. And you can probably guess I'm also here to speak about our funding requests. I'd like to thank County Council for getting this on the agenda so quickly and timely from us sending the request over. I just would like to say that it's important that this get funded now so that we can get started on our work of hiring a solicitor, hiring a stenographer, everything else that we need to hire. I understand Mr. Griffith's concerns, but the reason that it is broad as it is because, as Ms. Malcolm has pointed out, there's a lot of details that we don't quite know yet on what we're going to expend. We don't know our total figure for our outside advisors or any other figures that might come in. So we need a general ballpark figure that we can work off of so that we can make the hiring decisions that we need to have a proper government study commission. As my other commission members have said, it's really important that this remain independent because we are reviewing all aspects of the county government, and that includes the county council itself. I'm sure everyone has heard that one of the big things that's talking about is how many people should be on county council, whether there should be districts, the methods of election. So just making sure that when we're considering how county council functions, county council and county government do not have influence us as a body. When we're making such fundamental decisions about how county council works, our funding should not be in a county council account. And while we're making decisions about how the county management works, our money should not be in an account managed by county management. Our funds should be independent to make sure that we can make independent decisions fully without influence from outside groups. And this is important because we're going to hire a solicitor who will be independent, and we're going to hire a consultant who will be independent. And to make sure that we can do this, we need to make sure that our money is independent as well. Again, I hope that you will approve the amount as requested, and that you will make it so that we get an independent account. Thank you, and have a good meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Anybody else for public comment in the audience or on Zoom? Nobody? All right. Hearing none, I'll have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 23rd, 2024 voting session, please.
Second.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are adopted. Moving on to the agenda. Number 1, motion to adopt the resolution providing tax exemption for new construction in deteriorated areas under the Local Economic Revitalization Tax Act.
So moved.
Motion and a second. On the question, anybody? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 2, motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the resolution with PennDOT for ECMS approval for the West Nanticoke Bridge.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Motion and a second. On the question, Mr. Thornton.
Yeah, I just, and I'm a little confused on the whole issue here. I realize we went to PennDOT and they're promising, to give us, I think, $10 million down the road for the bridge project there, and I think that's fantastic, just for the record. And my questions are, though, and anybody could answer it here who knows the answers to this. According to PennDOT, we have to solicit several engineering firms to submit proposals to handle the project. And I was under the impression that we still have to have these engineering firms explore the 3 original options that have been discussed here for probably over a year. And I'm not going to go through the 3 options. But also I was told somewhere along the way this year that at several meetings here that the redevelopment authority loan that is being used for this bridge project somehow read that a full replacement of the bridge is required. So I'm confused with that, and maybe I'm incorrect by saying that. Maybe that's not required. But is the full replacement of the bridge required? In other words, knock down the old bridge and build a brand new one? Is that required? And if it is, why are we seeking engineering proposals we're asking engineering firms to give us the 3 options, calculations on the 3 options? So I'm just confused on that.
Okay.
Manager Kokomo.
I'll speak to that, and I think Nick is here if he wants to add anything. Let's speak to your maybe last question about the 3 proposals that we need to request through the ECMS system, which is the PennDOT system. When this project originally started, the only monies that were available were through the Redevelopment Authority, through the LSA. We then advocated with PennDOT, and we were able to move our project to the TIP, which is state and federal money. They awarded us $10 million. In order to receive that money, we have to go through their process. If you don't want to receive the $10 million, the money will go back. We're on the MPO with Lackawanna County. It could be repurposed for a project in Lackawanna County and not in Luzerne County, and we'll return $10 million. So we have to go through that process, and we will get 3 options. They may be the same options that we got before. They may be different. When the previous administration submitted the paperwork to the Redevelopment Authority that was then sent to the CFA, which is the group that approves that LSA money, that money that's going to the Redevelopment Authority, all the documents that were submitted by Luzerne County says we're going to rebuild the bridge. As a matter of fact, in the estimate of the cost, they put the cost of the demolition for the existing bridge. If the 3 new options have an option that is chosen by council that does not rebuild the bridge, then the process is we have to amend our paperwork, ask the Redevelopment Authority to request that the CFA reassess their decision. That's where we're at. But at this point, no decision has been made on what Luzerne County is going to do with the crossing over the Susquehanna between West Nanticoke and Nanticoke. It's still our decision. It's not a decision that has been made. We can change that decision. It's just that we have to go through these bureaucratic maneuvers. So what's on the agenda tonight is a decision whether we want this $10 million or we don't. My recommendation is that we get the $10 million. That's my recommendation. And then we have the options. They will come back to council. We'll have a committee to pick the engineering firm. Vice Chair Thornton, you're on that committee. You're an engineer. We want your expertise involved in that. It will come back and it will be public. All of this will be public. But this is what we're facing. And if the words that were used by the previous administration with the submission, there is, to me, it's clear. They made a representation to the Redevelopment Authority, who in turn made a representation to the CFA that we're rebuilding the bridge.
Full replacement.
Full replacement. That can be amended. It's a bureaucratic avenue. I've never done it. It will be my first rodeo to try to do that. But if that's the will of council, we will do it. But tonight is about the $10 million that we're receiving through the tip. That's what tonight's about.
Mr. Thorne.
Yeah, thank you for that. That clears up a lot in my head. Thank you, Ms. Giacomo. And I, for the record, I'm personally in favor of the motion here. Definitely want the 10 million from the state. And I guess the state requires us to seek an engineering firm to again analyze and evaluate the 3 original options with that bridge project. And I guess my question, was then, is council deciding eventually when the engineer presents the 3 options, does council decide which of the 3 will be constructed, or does PennDOT decide which of the 3?
PennDOT is not involved in this.
Okay.
This is, the process will be the same as the Water Street Bridge, except that PennDOT is not involved in the decision-making. Luzerne County is going to lead this. Council's decision. Council's decision. It will come back to council.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? No. Mr. Vogt?
Yeah, just one quick adage. There might be a totally different plan that the new engineers want to work out based off the 3 original plans with little tweaks. But yes, this 10 million will be greatly beneficial for this project, and I think you all should approve.
All right. There's nothing else. Roll call.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Since this does not encumber us from voting for a different option, yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Number 3, motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the use of county recreation and conservation fund grant money to repair and restore the Ellen Webster Palmer statue.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay, hold on a second.
Your mic.
Who,
I think it was Harry.
okay, Mr. Haas was the first, and who was the
I have no
second?
idea.
Someone like the second? Patty.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Krishnowski. All right, there's a first and a second on the question. Roll call.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 4, motion to adopt the resolution approving the use of opioid settlement proceeds to fund warm handoff services and/or certified recovery specialist services.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 5, motion to adopt the resolution approving the use of opioid settlement funds to fund the medication assistant treatment program at the Luzerne County Correctional Facility from 2023.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, anybody? Roll call.
Mr. Perry? Yes. Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott? Yes. Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 6, motion to adopt the resolution approving the use of opioid settlement funds to fund opioid prevention education programs.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Roll call.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 7, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for NEPA inclusive.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas? Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 8, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for Keystone Mission.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
Just maybe a statement, but I did ask several questions about this modification. First, let me say, first and foremost, I did a tour back in March of the Keystone Mission, led by Danielle here, who spoke tonight. Wonderful place, fantastic. They're doing a great job there. And I love to see all the people that are helping there. They were there when we were there. Very impressive. The building is impressive, and it's certainly needed in the city of Wilkes-Barre. I've stopped a couple times myself with some of my older jeans and whatnot, and they told me that mine are too big for most of the guys, but asked me to get some smaller jeans from people. But anyway, no, the question I had was how much of the original $500,000 were they planning on using originally to purchase a 4-unit building or 2 double block homes? And the answer was, $300,000 roughly. And that was my first question. I got that answered. And of course, I agree with our controller, Mr. Griffith, that the way that it's going now, and I'm probably going to support this motion, but I'm a landlord myself, and I had several units through my life that I rented out, and one of them was a double block somewhere. And if people came to me and said, "Hey, we want to rent your double block, Brian, but we want to renovate it for $100,000, would that be okay?" I'd be jumping for joy. I'd say, absolutely, knock yourself out $100,000. And then when I kicked them out years down the road, I got a nice property there, all renovated. That's what goes through my mind. And my second question on this project was, how long is that lease? If the lease is only 5 years or 3 years, the landlord could terminate it and get rid of the people and then bring in whoever he wants, have beautiful new apartments in his building. And I don't like when we use government money or public money, taxpayer money, to enrich private owners. That doesn't sit well with me. And that's how I looked at it. But then they said, well, the lease is going to be for 29 years. I said, oh, okay, all right, well, that's pretty good, But that was my concern. And the other concern I had is I read the article in the local paper the other day where Luzerne County held that tax sale of a lot of our delinquent properties. And the sale, I think, brought in over $1 million. If anybody read that article, it was a tremendously successful sale. And at the top of the list of that sale were 3 or 4 properties. They were all double blocks, side-by-side houses. And the bidding started around $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per property. and they got bid all the way up to 120,000, 125, and 130,000. So these are obviously properties in pretty good shape, and they're out there, and they got sold at auction. And I'm thinking, geez, why didn't we do that? At the same time, I was reading the agenda for tonight over the weekend. When I read the article, I said, geez, why didn't we look at those properties and go and bid on them? And then we'd have 2 nice double blocks, probably in separate areas of the city or wherever they're at. And then we would own them. We would own them. And then they're under our control. And, well, the Keystone Mission would own them. But I guess, for whatever reason, that didn't happen. And but I'm happy to hear there's a 29-year lease so that hopefully the Keystone Mission tenants are allowed to stay there. And I understand it's not the same building. I heard it's a separate building from the Thomas C. Thomas building, correct? Yes. So it is a separate building. It's not in that one big building, which is good. I like to hear that because of the concerns Mr. Griffith voiced earlier. So I don't know if she has anything to add, but that's all I had to say.
You don't have anything to add, do you? Would you like to speak a little bit more on this? Are there any other council members have questions? Mr. Sabatino?
Hi. Where is this property located? Like, if it's not in the same building?
The property is located to the back of Miners Medical. So if you're aware of the complex, so we have the building where Keystone Mission is, and then we have Miners Medical to the back, and then we have another property, so that building all the way in the back.
So it's adjacent to it?
It's adjacent, yeah. Okay. But Miners Medical stands between Keystone Mission and where the building is going to be. And I don't know if I can respond to the gentleman's comment before. Our day services run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. every single afternoon, and the shelter that was opened up on June 17th from funding from the city of Wilkes-Barre, we are utilizing the day room area, which serves as multi-purpose. So we have day services there, which we have case management and other plethora of services for the guests that come in. And then we literally, when the center closes at 3, we turn that room into the shelter space. And guests come in at 8 p.m. and guests leave at 7 a.m. every single morning. We understand that it's a challenge, and we have been trying to work with the guests in terms of their deportment and to be thankful for the space and how what they do affects the community. But the timing is we definitely don't have a separate cell space, and we are sharing space within our own space, but it has double features. So I just wanted to add, to that comment.
I just have one thing.
Good.
Go ahead.
Just Mr. Wilovich first.
Yep.
Okay,
Sorry.
so there was a line in the approved budget for $58,640 for equipment. What would that be used for the new property location?
The equipment that we would be looking into getting would be appliances. Children and youth is they're getting furniture for the families that are coming in. We actually have the owner that they have laundry equipment that they're going to be able to, as a gift, be able to give that to us as well, so that there's some responsibility on the tenants coming in to use the coin system as well. So we're getting some, so the laundry would be a gift, and the other appliances like the stove and the refrigerator and things of that nature would be part of that amount.
Okay, so 4 units totals $58,640.
I'm sorry, you said for
So
appliances?
for 4 apartment units, that would total $58,640?
No, we won't be using
Okay,
that
well,
amount.
that's what the approved budget line is.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry, my words are failing me. For thank you. Yes, the housing was, the homeless families housing, $312,403. Those appliances, some of those monies were already used in the opening up of the Innovation Center in October of last year. No,
Any
it's
other
okay.
questions, Mr.
Any other
Wilovich?
questions? I'm
You
sorry,
good?
I didn't have my
Mr.
copy.
Thornton?
Yeah, I just have a statement here, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this here. Daily, and we saw it happen when we were there, a bunch of us toured it. Daily, they have homeless, mostly men coming in, almost always men, but it's open to everybody. And they come in there, brand-new facilities, they shower, and the facility always needs washcloths and towels. And as they told us, not new, if you want to bring new, you could. Your old towels, washcloths, bars of soap, whatever you want, they could really, really use it. And when these men leave, they have a bunch of wet towels and that they have to wash and dry in big commercial machinery. And so anybody and everybody, go to your hall closet or bathroom closet, get your old towels out. The ones that are frayed a little bit, might have a little hole in them. Bring them down to the Mission. They're open 9 to 3 on the corner of Union Street, and you get rid of all that stuff. Don't throw them in the garbage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Ms. Krasnowski.
I was just curious, do you take volunteers? Could people volunteer to go there? And if you can, how would you go about to volunteer to?
Oh, yeah, we definitely take volunteers. If you want to stop by and just sign up at the Mission, at the location, you can do so, or we encourage individuals to go to our website, keystonemission.org, and you can sign up through there. And based on location of the individual, then they can either sign up to volunteer at our Scranton location or at our Wilkes-Barre locations.
And do you also serve food there too as well, or is it just only?
We do.
teaching?
We do. So we do continental breakfast. We do have light snacks during the day. We do not serve lunch because we know that the soup kitchen also serves lunch. So it would be counterproductive to have us serving lunch and then the soup kitchen serving lunch. But we do serve dinner every single night that the shelter is open.
And finally, do you take donations for food?
Yes, we
food-
do. We take donations of food and clothing and hygiene items and, paper products like cups and plates, whatever, any little bit helps.
And where could you drop it off? At your location at any time, or do you have a certain place? Or
You can drop it off at 90 East Union Street, where the Innovation Center is located, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Thornton?
Yeah, I just want to add real quickly. When we were there, among all the men there was one young guy in his late 20s, and this is a fantastic story about how well they're doing there at the Mission. He was in his late 20s, very clean cut, and a couple of us, John, you were there, you were talking to him, and he was in a transitionary period in his life, and he was down on his luck, and that's why he was going there, showering, things like that. But he told us he had applied to the Marines, and he was accepted. And in a week or two, he was shipping off to join the Marines. So we applauded him and said, boy, what a great thing you've done with your life. You're coming from here and you're going to the Marines, which certainly anybody who ever served knows that's going to really put them on the right path. So the Mission is serving a great purpose, and they're doing a wonderful job there, and they work very hard. I see them scurrying about when I was there. I've been down there a couple times since, and they're doing a fantastic job. So everybody, public, keep that on your radar. Keystone Mission in Wilkes-Barre. Thank you.
Can I add something? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
The gentleman actually graduated in June. So he's, full-fledged, but he graduated in June. So
That's excellent. That's great
They
to
wrote
hear.
a letter to us and everything. We weren't able to attend because a couple of staff and myself was away at a conference in Kentucky for work, but we got the letter stating that he graduated in June.
That's awesome. Ms. Smith, you had a comment?
Do you happen to know your numbers of people that you provide services to in Luzerne County every year?
Yes, I actually have a brochure. Do you mind if I just go get it in my bag?
Yes,
Here.
please grab it.
Thank you so much. So we, as you know, we have the Male Transformation Center, which is to the back of Sherman Hills, and that is a residential facility. We currently have about 10 residents there, and it's a program for about 1.5 years for men who are battling addiction and homelessness. So we have those men there. Since opening up our Innovation Center in in October of last year, we have served about probably 11,000 plus. That includes meals, showers. In terms of unique numbers, we see about 50 to 60, especially a day, since the closing down, well, not closing down, but the clearing out of Kirby Park. Those numbers have been increasing to about 70 at night. A couple of nights ago, the highest numbers that we got was 68. So at times it's really packed, so we've been serving. We have even people coming from out of state. Philly, Iowa, people from New York, New Jersey, and we've been seeing a lot of transition people coming in. So that's, I don't want to say it creates a burden, but we've been dealing with that as well and helping these people find services.
Thank you. Mr. Sabatino?
Would it be the same landlord that you're, for the building that you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
They're the same landlord for both
Yes,
buildings?
sir. That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions from council? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Roll call?
Ms. Stevenson?
Absolutely.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
No.
Ms. Krasnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lescavage?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
10 yes, 1 no, passes.
Thank you. Number 9, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for the Berwick Area Joint Sewer Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call?
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krasnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lescavage?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 10, motion,
Do we do NEPA inclusive?
I thought we
did?
did, yeah.
Okay.
That was number 7.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. Moving on to number 10. Motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for the Institute.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krasnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lescavage?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 11, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for Sugar Notch Borough.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call?
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krasnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lescavage?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 12, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for Common Ground Ministries.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call?
Ms. Krasnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lescavage?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 13, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for Edwardsville Borough.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call?
Mr. Lescavage?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krasnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, for number 14, we have 2 different motions that are going to be on the floor regarding Michael Loga, the Foot and Ankle Center. First, we have a motion to remove the resolution from the table.
So move, Mr. Chair. Second.
All right, there's a motion.
Who?
Ms. McDermott was the first, and the second was
Mr. Haas?
yeah, I guess. Motion and a second. Roll call?
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Abstain.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krasnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lescavage?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
We have 10 yes and 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you. It's removed from the table. Number 14B, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for Michael Beloga, the Foot and Ankle Center. Motion? Is there a second?
Second it, but on a question. I
Go
have a
ahead.
question. Is there someone here present that could comment from the practice of the doctor's office? Anybody to answer questions? On the Zoom wire?
Mr. Beloga, or Dr. Beloga, he is here on the Zoom.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Can you guys?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Council. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you. Dr. Beloga, the only question I had was my original question, and I did see an answer, an email that came back to the administration, to Ms. Barrett, who oversees the administration of these funds. And my only question was, originally it was stated the extension was requested because the equipment ordered or supplied, and then when we further questioned it in the past couple of weeks, the email came back and said because the equipment was on back order, there were shortages of the equipment nationwide, and it was on back order, and that's why it wasn't ordered. I still question why it wasn't ordered anyway. I mean, normally you order something, and then the companies come back and they say, well, thank you for your order, but it's going to be on back order because there's shortages. But I'm still unclear, was it ordered by your practice or was it not ordered originally?
Sure. Okay. Hi, again, guys, I just want to thank you for your time. This is Dr. Beloga Jr. I'm here on behalf of my father and our private podiatry practice. My father's out of the country and he couldn't connect via Zoom. It wouldn't let him from a different country, so I'm speaking on his behalf. As far as the whirlpools go, the only place he was able to order them from was California, and he was put through the ringer time and time again. Every time he called this company, they sent him to another company to talk to, and then to a website. And to be completely honest, my dad's not the most tech savvy guy himself, so they weren't ordered yet. And the modification we were looking on was just a time extension to get them ordered. We used the majority of the fund already. We just had the remainder left, and we wanted to use it on the whirlpools that we mentioned. And we were just looking for an extension of time because, like I just told you, my dad kind of got the runaround. He really just explained it to me recently this week. And again, he's not that tech savvy, so they weren't ordered yet.
Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
Thank you for that answer, Dr. Beloga Jr. Also, based on what you just said, I was just wondering, you said the funds were already used, or most of them were used, or some, I'm not sure. Were the funds used to purchase the equipment, which was described as such in the original ARPA application?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Beloga. There's a motion and a second.
Yep.
Roll call?
Mr. Perry? Yes. Mr. Sabatino?
No.
Ms. Smith?
Abstention.
She has to say why.
Oh. Ms. Smith, can you state your abstention?
I'm a patient.
Okay.
Ms. Stevenson?
No.
Mr. Thornton?
No.
Mr. Wilovich?
No.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
No.
Mr. Liscavige?
No.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
And Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
4 yes, 6 no, 1 abstention. It fails.
Okay, thank you. Number 15, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for the Luzerne County Convention Center.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call?
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krasnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 16, motion to adopt the resolution declaring a vacancy on the Luzerne County Community College Board of Trustees.
On the question,
There's a motion and a second on the question. Ms. Smith?
I just wanted to be very clear. We have done the correct procedure
Yes.
here. Yes.
Yes, we're responsible for declaring the vacancy. We're responsible for filling it as well.
Just making it clear.
Yep. Yep. All right, there's a motion and a second. Roll call?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
With regrets, yes.
Ms. Krasnowski? Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 17, introduction of the ordinance amending the 2024 fiscal year budget for Luzerne County, the Government Study Commission 2024-2025 budget.
So move. And on the question, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I listened to the comments tonight. Ms. Malcolmus, thank you for being here, and Mr. Malakari and Mr. Schaefer on the wire. And I got to tell you, personally, I'm all for this Government Study Commission, and I fully 100% agree with everything that was said by the three individuals tonight. It needs to be independent, needs no interference from county council. All of that is absolutely 100% true. And I believe the only questions were good questions by the controller, Mr. Griffith. You know, when you put a budget together, it doesn't have to be precise or exact, but clearly the group is going to need, the Government Study Commission is going to need IT services from the county, which costs something. And I don't think anybody on this council, at least I haven't heard from anybody opposing that. It's going to cost something, and that number, approximate ballpark, should be put in the budget so that they're not walking back here later after the fact. And also security, for you, if they're using our county sheriff deputies, which they absolutely should. I agree with that. But there should be some kind of cost put in the budget. That's all I'm saying. I'm in favor of this motion, though, personally, and I certainly don't want to hold them back at all from doing the tremendous job, community service ahead of them. Thank you.
And just to, if I could, I apologize, just if I could add one or two things before I listen to other council member comments. If you look at the ordinance, the introduction of the ordinance, the line items that are in the proposed budget are line items that they were created specifically for the Government Study Commission. They're not line items of county council. They're not other administrative line items. So we essentially don't have any control or authority over this once we approve the money. That's our only real task here. And considering that members of county council are the ones that chose to bring the study commission question to the voters, we certainly have an obligation to do this. And I haven't heard any comments publicly or privately from council members that have said anything to the effect of having an issue with this budget. And, you know, we obviously would like the work to be done in the proper manner, and we have no intention of interfering in any way. I'm not sure why those comments were mentioned during this meeting, but we just want to see the commission get their facts right independently, listen to what the different department heads and division heads, listen to what council members, the manager have to say, and listen to what the public has to say most importantly, and then make your decisions based on that. So I just wanted to make that clarification, particularly with the budget. These line items were created specifically for the Government Study Commission. Mr. Sabatino?
In the past, has the Government Study Commissions, they've had their own bank accounts, or they've been both under the county, like line items in the county accounts?
Attorney Skeen?
The ordinance was done specifically based on the first study commission.
The 2003 one? Okay.
Right. So that bank account, the way it was set up, was based upon the first study commission.
I can add, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Wilovich first? I'm sorry, then Mr. Haas. I apologize.
Okay, quick question from Ms. Rozelle. Where in the budget does this fall? Which departments?
We created the department.
Okay, so it has its own section.
Yeah, it's a separate department.
Okay. And the second part, too. So this is just for 2024. Obviously, they have numbers for 25, but that'll be in the next budget. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Haas?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm doing research here, and to answer some of the questions that were asked. In 2009, the county commissioners, because we were under the commissioner form of government, allocated $38,000. So that was the initial allocation back at that time. In the final report, which was given August 11, 2010, the study commission had expended $46,810 at that point. So it was in existence for a year. That's how much was expended. And the report stated that they were estimated to spend $37,000 more. So that is the public release of that, of the entire report with all the allocations. Now I'm looking here at the different items. Some of it they used resources that we didn't really have at the time, like a speaker system. Well, we have this state-of-the-art speaker system now, so that cost $1,200. So some of these things, are in-kind donations from Luzerne County. So I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, why those comments were made, because nobody's put any chalk on the wheels here. I think what their ask is well within the lines and the parameters of the scope of the job. And I would just say, and this might be for Ms. Krogum or Ms. Brazil, didn't the state give some money for this? This isn't purely Luzerne County tax funds, I think. Doesn't the state
I don't recall
allocate something?
What happened before, but we have no state allocations for this study commission. And just so that council is aware, the administration has been cooperating with the commission without a hesitation. So, but I'm not aware of any state funds for this.
Because I was going to say, if they did emanate from the state, then perhaps that should be itemized so the county can recoup some of those funds. But I think if it's county funds, we as Luzerne County are just showing a very good faith effort in making sure that this commission succeeds. So, hats off to them. I would just hope all the members do the work and do the reading and don't rely on consultants, because I see the ask it seems like it's a little heavy to me, but again, that's for the public purview, and I'm happy to support the ask.
If I can just, Michelle Sparich, who's on via Zoom, texted me that there was a DCED grant for the study commission before, but we didn't apply for one now for this commission. I'm not sure if we're the body to do that, but if we are, we'll do it.
I think
I thought that was the case. So thank you, Michelle. You're watching out there. Thanks, Manager Corporal.
Definitely look into that. Mr. Sabatino?
Two things. We should definitely apply for the grant if there is one available. And I think, from what I was gathering from the comments made tonight, I think they're saying that they would like to have their own bank account, and that is what makes them independent from the county. I don't think they're saying that we have been obstructing them in any way, shape, or form. But in order to keep that independence, they would like to have full control over the resources that we allocate to them. I think that's where they're going. If Ms. Malcolm is that what you've encountered no obstruction from, okay. Just want to clarify what I think they're asking for at this point. They're not saying that this government or anybody in the administration has been obstructing them. They just want to have their own separate bank account from the county funds.
Right, and essentially that is what this is. I will say the only thing is I believe that being that it will be in a line item in the county, it's in its own bank account, but it will be accruing interest that we will then still be able to, recoup that in the process. So, Mr. Skeen, do you have anything to add? I'm sorry.
Yeah, if they wanted to have a bank account where they would draw down, then if they needed money, the money could be put into that bank account and they could draw it down from the bank account. But to move a whole budget amount over there would be irregular compared to how we normally do our accounting.
And again, it's not, when you ask, you will receive. It's not like there's going to be anybody stopping. Obviously, if you're asking for something that's not within your budget, that's different. But we, like I said, have been cooperative thus far. And if there's any issues, feel free to let us know. Ms. Smith, you had something?
I wanted to second what Mr. Sabatino said and just mention that this body must be independent, and the mere appearance of impropriety could destructively undermine any result and therefore any trust in the people of Luzerne County, and that is the utmost importance. So we need to make sure that this remains independent.
Okay.
This is just introducing, this isn't actually voting on it.
Right. This is just introduced. We won't vote until the next meeting. Ms. Malcolm, do you have any other comments you'd like to make if you want to go up to the podium?
Mic's still on, right? Is that mic on? I don't think it's on. Do it, check.
Hello? Oh, I guess it's not. It's just my understanding that the last Government Study Commission had a separate bank account. And even putting, I agree with Ms. Smith that if we don't have that total individuality, independence from the county, there are, it then muddies the waters. You know, I think that ask for what we're asking for is we're going to be totally transparent, so it won't be, you know, anything that nobody is aware of, but I think it's really important for us to have our individual account, not with the county.
Can I ask a question? Are you asking that we write a check for $75,000 to?
I don't know what the proper procedure for that is, but yeah, you know, transfer funds.
Then we wouldn't have a budget record on our books if we did that. So we have to change the resolution. The resolution has to be amended.
Right. Ms. Stevenson, you have a comment?
Yes, I do have a comment, because now I'm a little confused based on what Manager Crocomo and what Harry Skeen have stated in the last 3 minutes. So this item, right, this introduction, this is us voting to
Introduce the ordinance.
introduce the ordinance.
Yes.
And so not approving that separate bank account yet.
We're just introducing the ordinance as it's written, which will be line items within bank accounts within the county right now. Go ahead, Attorney.
My apology, the ordinance would have to be amended, not the resolution.
Okay.
That was my error.
Okay.
The council has has a very small budget. The money has to come from council. What we're doing is moving the money from the reserve into an account. We can't just, we have to have we have to move money from one place to another before it can be written out. So even if we were writing, if council decides they want to forego whatever interest and write a check to the government study program, you have to have a place to write it from. So we have to move the money from the reserve so that you could spend the money. But I think what Romilda was saying is correct. We just went through our whole audit. So the auditors are going to come in and say, well, what'd you write this check out for? So there would have to be some sort of sub-audit for them to provide us with the audit results for 2024 next year.
So it's my understanding that whatever is left over for the year, and of course we would ask for more money, you know, the coming year, goes back to the county at that point. So I don't know how that we wouldn't be accountable to the county with an independent bank account.
I mean, me personally, I just feel like we're doing more things than we need to necessarily do, because again, this is all right. Mr. Lescavage, you have a comment?
I don't understand where this would be putting a sprag in the wheels for the county if you requested $7,500 and it was for whoever, and then our administration just cuts that check. I don't know how that becomes an issue. In addition to, we watch over all the money of the county, so it's kind of asking for something very different for us to stroke a check for 75 grand to put in an account. And at the least, we'd have to have Mr. Griffith conduct an audit, because as we all know, many times in government, there was a lot of promises that nothing will ever happen, but it happens.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, everybody pays for the sins of the previous, right?
I agree.
So I think the cleaner we keep it and the simpler we keep it, the better off we are. I don't think we have to try to reinvent the wheel, if you will.
Who would be tracking the monies if we hand it over? We can't track it. It wouldn't be the administration. We wouldn't be able to do it.
We would still be reporting back to the county, though.
In what mechanism? I don't mean to, I just
I'm not sure,
I
but-
just want a path, that's all.
Mhm.
Like,
Mr. Sabatino. Sorry.
Controller Griffith, you did mention in your comment that they should have their own bank account. What would you see the path forward being for this?
In 2003, I believe they had their own, and I think in 2009, we ran through Chief Clerk Abe at the time. So what we did was we submitted the bills to the county based on the Government Study Commission, and they paid it there. So I don't believe we had our own bank account when we were study commission in 2009. In 2003, I think Dr. Baldino, I think, might have had his own. I can't think back that far away, but I thought they had their own. But as long as there's we didn't have any intimidations at all when Chief Clerk was here. Abe, and I don't think you'll have any moving forward with the new with this administration either. The paper trail is important because the county's spending the money. They're giving them the money, they're putting it in line items. If they submit a bill, the only concern I think that from the comments is if they submit a bill for $400 an hour per solicitor, they don't want somebody from the county administration saying, that's just too much money for a solicitor, we're not paying $400. That's, I think, the concern. And I don't want to speak for the commission, but that's kind of what I'm getting the feeling for. So I think accountability-wise, it probably would be way cleaner to Kevin's point, is to do the invoicing through the county and let them do it through the budget line items. That way the money's coming from the line item. If the commission can regulate their funds in a fashion that the county gets the reporting as Manager Corporal is asking for, then that's okay. I just don't know if they have that ability to do that. So it's cleaner if we go through the county, even as long as they are under the understanding that we won't interfere. And I don't think that's our intent.
there will be no interference.
Yeah, and I think that's their concern. And we didn't have that either when we did the commission. We just submitted the bills. PEL gave us a bill. They voted at the meeting. They said, we're going to approve this bill for PEL. We sent that bill to Doug Pape. Doug Pape put it to budget finance, bill, sent it to PEL, and it was all tied in that way. That's how it all worked. That was the process. So nobody ever questioned the bill and said, oh, you shouldn't be paying PEL this much money. So that's the concern a lot.
Any other comments by council members? Ms. Smith?
I'd like to submit a motion to amend this particular ordinance.
We haven't even introduced it yet, so.
The way it's being introduced,
Right.
I just think it's so important that this be independent. The commission is responsible for their finances, and I believe that this was an issue legally with the last commissions. I believe that they threatened to sue if the county had any control over it, because it's a commission and therefore state function, not a county function, and that needs to be very, very clear.
So are you recommending that we don't give them the money? Because we're the ones that are responsible for
No.
taxpayer dollars and the purse strings. We answer to the public. And if we give them the money and we can't answer to that, what's our solution?
Well, I think you already said it. You already stated that by putting this on the ballot, you created an obligation for this body
That's correct.
to give that funding. And because we need to show that they are independent, I think they need their own bank account.
We also have an obligation to monitor taxpayer money, too. Matter of
Then
fact,
maybe we
that
should have
you, as
reconsidered
elected
government.
officials, actually have that obligation.
Right.
To monitor taxpayer
So
money.
it seems like we have an obligation that is in direct contradiction to another obligation. But we created a different obligation to the entirety of Luzerne County.
I think that what we as the council, or what this ordinance is asking for, is just that the Government Study Commission just follow the same accounting procedures that we would for any other line item that we spend. That's all we're
understand that's
asking.
what
We're
you're
not asking
saying.
to keep an eye on you or to tell you what to do in any way, shape, or form. We're just asking to follow the same accounting procedures that the rest of the county follows with the
But we're
taxpayer money that we.
Actions
we're not
speak
before
louder
the-
than words.
I was just going to say that we're going by state mandate, not the county, right?
Right.
So we would be accountable to reporting back to the county.
Yes.
However, totally independent. And having that bank account with the county is not going to make that transparency that we're needing. Excuse me.
Mr. Liscavige, go ahead.
See, I disagree with your statement, unfortunately, because if they came to us, we still have the oversight. That's our job. And without that, if you were to come in and ask for a $2 million ask, we can never afford that.
Right.
So no matter what the state says, we're not doing it. I don't think any of us here would sit and vote for that, to put ourselves in the hole. So I think within reason, we're trying to put our best foot forward.
Mhm.
And I think the sticking point is just this checking account.
Yes.
And I don't understand why it's such an issue, because if the bill's turned in and it's for $400 for legal fees, and we cut a check to that outfit, I don't understand for the life of me what the problem is.
We're supposed to be independent.
How is
We're
that
not
not, I don't understand how that's
Because
not
we're
independent, though.
still having to go through somebody else to get what we need, when we should be reporting to somebody else, but not asking permission.
Correct, but it's the county funds, and the county
Correct.
should cut those. Because we watch over the money, and as I said before, and just because it was done in the past in 2003 and in 2000, we all know how that all worked out. That's why all of us are here today, right? So.
It's a learning curve.
That's right. So I just think we're beating this to death for no reason, quite honestly.
Mr. Wilovich?
As long as it's budgeted, the only time we could say no is if you go over the budget. That's my only concern. That's the only time that we'd have any questions. If you're asking for more money.
Mr. Haas, then Ms. Smith.
If I could, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I'm reading out of the home rule manual provided by DCED. So hat tip to Mark Raba. I was hoping he would be sitting on the answer here. I've been reaching out to different past study members, and they couldn't tell me if they did have a separate bank account at this time. But on page 17 of the manual says, funding the operations of the Government Study Commission is the responsibility of the local governing body, which is the county council. Home rule law does not provide any specific guidelines Home rule does not provide specific guidelines for the amount of expenses, merely employing the terms necessary and reasonable. It is the responsibility of the commission to work up a budget. So the commission should have done the budget, which we saw here. So when you look at page 124, you see the $75,000, so that was appropriate, okay? And then present it to the governing body, which is what this introduction is. The amount finally approved is subject to negotiation between the two groups. So, no, it's technically not an independent act, because we have a fiduciary responsibility as taxpayers to make sure the government is spending the correct money, even if that is an elected study commission. So I take that responsibility very seriously too. But nonetheless, remember, this is spread out over 2 fiscal years, because this is going to take place more than just 1 year. So whatever we approve tonight can increase. So I would actually like to, I would even suggest, as we introduce this, if we're talking about this, probably cut this allocation in half, because that amount of money is probably not going to be spent in this first year. And if you remember, when I showed you in 2009, the commissioners originally allocated $38,000. So I'm just reading the things.
And they
this
wound up
is what-
spending $89,000 at the end.
That's what it shows. That's about, on average, $89,000 over 2 years. So again, in this line of work, reading is so critical. I know it's a lot of reading, Ms. Malcolmus, and I just hope your members are reading too, because you need all hands on deck. And this is why we must read it, not the consultants, not the solicitors, the elected people, which in this case are the study commission members.
All right, thank you. I'll call
Thank
the
you.
question.
And again, thank you, Mr. Rabo.
Call the question. Roll call.
Ms. Stevenson?
No.
Mr. Thornton?
If, just so I'm clear on this, Mr. Haas, if this body votes no on the introduction of this ordinance, then there will be no ordinance authorizing any monies to go to the Government Study Commission?
That's
Okay.
Immediately.
I need to vote yes, then.
We can introduce this, if I can, Mr. Chair, is that all right?
Yes,
I
go
mean,
ahead, Mr.
this is just an introduction.
I apologize.
So, no,
Yeah.
that's all right. So next meeting, we can change the allocation if we want to cut it in half, like I would probably suggest. Looking at past precedent would probably be more appropriate, but we can make that at that time. But
Okay.
yeah, this is just introducing it.
My primary concern is to get some money here to the Government Study
Absolutely.
Commission. I'm voting yes. This is the only way we can do it.
Absolutely, that's right.
All right, Ms. Stevenson said she'd like to change her vote? Yes. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes, to introduce.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
And Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now have public comment on non-agenda items. I do have several slips up here. Dr. Christine Wysocki.
Thank you, Council. I'm here to discuss on the work agenda number 3, the development of land in Butler Township, Drums, Pennsylvania. I just wanted to say, think carefully in regards to developmenting rural areas. As we all know, there are some benefits to urbanization, there are some financial gains, but there's also a lot of cons to over-urbanization and destruction of our rural areas, one of them being our green space. If you know anything about mental health and treatment, green space is so important to society, to the enrichment of our children, to the mental health of the people. It helps with de-stressing, helps with depression, helps with anxiety. You could tell, like, prominent business members, if you take, like, Kirby Park was developed, in urban areas to bring in that green space. So, it is definitely something to look into to protect green space. We have a lot of wildlife in the area. Butler Township itself just put out a notice to beware of driving in the area of Lions Drive and Middle Road, that you're not running over our turtles, because we have Turtle Pond down there. So we have a lot of natural turtles there. The other thing is we are getting overpopulated in the Hazleton area and in Drums. As you know, Hazleton Area School District is spending $150 million for a new school, and they project that that will take about 3 years to come to fruition, and more than likely by the time it is open, it will be overpopulated again. The Drum School, right in that area where we're asking to develop, just paid $4 million for parking because there's not enough room to support the population that's already there. So that's part of the problems. Then we worry about water supply and everything in the future. One of the things, though, is when you think about when you want to come to an area, we don't usually advertise, hey, come and look at our big houses. We advertise, look at our green space. Look at how we're enriching our community. Look what we do for our children. Look at the Firwood Music Camp. I think that area and that land is better utilized in the enrichment of our county than of building more houses for people that don't really need the housing like the low income do. That's it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wysocki. Next up, I have Seth Bellio.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Excuse my voice. It's down in New Jersey for a buddy's bachelor party, so sorry in advance. Line item, I'm sorry about that. Resolution to approve the Elite Revenue Services Repository. So years ago, where my house is located, there was 3 houses in a row. The middle house burnt down. They built a driveway. That takes you back to my house. They built that house. If that house that parcel is sold, I'll be landlocked. I have an easement with my brother, but that's contested right now. So if for some reason that house gets sold right now, there's a bid in on it. It's a very low bid. I was looking to get there. I'm a new father this year. So within the last year, I was planning to go down, and I actually set apart a day to go. I came to the courthouse, went across the street, got told I needed to go to another building. I figured at that point that I wasn't going to have the piece of paper that I needed to get that job done, so I said, okay, I'll come back, and I never made it back. The parcel number is 34-G9 SW3-002-23 A-000. It was listed for $12,000. I think the bid on it is the minimum of $600. It might be $800, and that was made on 11/4/2021. That's basically all I have to say about that. On one of the voting items, I just wanted to make a public comment about it. For the LCC, if you guys are going to vote on somebody to go into that space, we need tradespeople. We're dying out here. There's nobody coming in. Seriously. We need people, and we need somebody in that space that's going to train the next generation of tradespeople. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bellio. And that property that he was referencing is on Main Street in Kingston Borough. I know that he said the parcel number, but it should be listed. You'll be able to find it a little bit more easily. Mr. Griffith?
Thank you. Just a point of order on the introduction of ordinances. In our charter, it says you have to get 4 votes to consider it. There should be no discussion on an ordinance. I know I had this discussion when I was on council. We spent an awful lot of time discussing an ordinance before it was even introduced. So just a point of order, you got to call for the 4 votes first. If you get the 4 votes, then you can bring it up at the next meeting for discussion. It could save us a lot of time in the future, because you may not have even gotten the 4 votes and you'd have wasted an awful lot of time. On the other items that I have, first of all, before I forget, I want to tell the council that I was at the auction on Saturday as the controller. I was there to help Vince to make sure that the auctioneer took care of business like he was supposed to. I was a little bit concerned about that. I sent my emails into operations about it, and I will tell you that it went very, very well. The auctioneer that they had did a fabulous job. He raised $175,000 for the county in our used equipment, which is a real big deal considering what we got from the last time we had an equipment auction. So I just want to extend my kudos to the operations division and the Vince. Did a fabulous job that day, and it was really hot, and we worked hard at it. So good job on the auction, Vince. And we did raise a lot of money for the county, so that was good for them. On the other issue that on the Government Study Commission, I hope that the Government Study Commission will then submit an invoice to the county for their services that they get from the county. They want to be independent, let's make them as independent as we can. And so that if they use our services, let them make an invoice, send it to Budget and Finance to pay our IT people and their sheriffs. And that way it'll be totally independent, and we won't give them any services for free, because we're giving an awful lot of services for free to a study commission that's supposed to be independent. So let's keep that in mind. I'd like to see the lease agreement for the, and I did give my business card to the young lady that was up here about the lease agreement for a 29-year lease. I'd be really interested to know what happens if the Keystone Mission can't pay their lights, their heat, what provisions are in that lease. If they can't make the appropriations don't come their way and they can't sustain their expenses, what happens if they get evicted from that property? All of those type of things are things that this council should consider when you appropriate funds to remodel somebody's property. I think Keystone Mission does a fabulous job. I've been at their inauguration over on the Sherman Street property as well as this one. I think the service that they provide to the people who are in need is fabulous, to Mr. Thornton's point. But we really need to make sure that we're protecting our funds. We're giving them a lot of money to refurbish that building. We want to make sure that that's protected, and that mission can continue for 29 years, if that's in fact their case. They may have to come to council and ask for appropriations to continue to pay their bills. I don't know. Hopefully that won't be the case. Thank you. That's all the time I have. Thanks.
Joseph Mangan.
Thank you. Joe Mangan, Hanover Township. About a month ago, I addressed council about a child abuse investigation cover-up involving my daughter. Before addressing that again, though, I want to make a comment on the recent news articles praising children and youth leadership for doing good work. I just want to know how that's possible when you're fully aware of this situation and have chosen to ignore the victim. Is that protocol? Times Leader wrote a story even after they sat here listening to my allegations, yet not one follow-up question about a child abuse investigation cover-up. Do you know that since 2012 in 2 school districts there are allegations, some publicly made, against the person you are protecting that include bullying, mental abuse, and putting children in harm's way? In fact, there has been settled litigation resulting from this individual mistreating children, including one with special needs. Another child sought help for anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation, still has to keep a diary today at 22 because of what she often relives what this individual had done to her in high school. The mother of a 28-year-old autistic child says his only memory of high school is how badly he was treated by this person. Days prior to my daughter's incident, 2 children under the care of this individual were injured and needed medical attention. Shortly after, my 14-year-old daughter at the time is put in an unreasonably dangerous situation where she was struck in the head, knocked unconscious, and breaks her rib as she collapses to the ground. The person you're protecting, who was trained in first aid and CPR, didn't even call 911. She had my daughter call me after she woke up to take her to the hospital so practice could resume. One of the many diagnoses from my daughter includes a traumatic brain injury, and she still requires memory rehabilitation. We had to apply for disability accommodations so she can hopefully succeed in college. Do you honestly believe all these years that all of these parents and children, most of whom did not even know each other at the times of their allegations, made up false stories, legal documentation, medical reports? Clearly there's a pattern. Both Victims Resource Center and my daughter's pediatrician called me to let me know they were advised by children and youth per protocol of the child abuse finding. So answer this question to me. How did it suddenly change to unfounded after Childline finalizes the abuse decision? I'm not going away. There's two answers to resolve this. Either you did the right thing or you didn't. And if you did the right thing, it would take me 3 years to try to pry an answer out of you.
Thank you, Mr. Mangan. Anybody else for public comment in the audience? Mr. Rabo on the Zoom. Mr. Rabo?
Mr. Chair, this is Mark Rabo. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Rabo. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Mark Rabo of Hazleton speaking. I just would like to say something about the study commission and how it's been since the inception. As Mr. Hawes said, and I wanted to answer the question while we were deliberating with the county manager and the budget and finance division head. I think it would behoove the council and the study commission, especially since they are elected officials on that commission, to read the home rule manual put out by DCED. It's not rocket science, and it's not reinventing the wheel, as Councilman Liscavich said. There's no need to reinvent the wheel because it's all there. And by the way, if there needs to be clarification as to what the the roles and responsibilities are for the study commission, instead of playing guessing games like Councilwoman Bryn Smith is doing, I think we need to contact the DCED local government services office. And I do believe the county manager has a division head who used to work there that could probably facilitate some contacts. So, but I do agree with Councilwoman Bryn Smith about the need for independence and the county controller's opinion for the need of independence for the study commission. But there needs to be a symbiotic relationship in terms of cooperation. That is what is needed to make the study commission process work. So I would ask the council, the administration, the Office of Law, if there's a confusing matter or a need for clarification, please contact DCED local government services offices or the House and State Local Government Commission. They will be able to provide you the information necessary for how the study commission process works. That's all. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rabo. Anybody else for public comment? Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned at 7:35. We'll restart at
Recording
7:45,
stopped.
please. Council members, it's 7:45. We're going to get started here back in a second. Everybody, please take your seats. Yes. Her and Greg had to leave.
Jim? Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
All right, Council, it's 7:48 p.m. I'd like to call the work session to order. We already had the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Roll call, please, Ms. Lawrence.
Mr. Haas. Ms. Krishnowski. Mr. Liscavige.
Here.
Ms. McDermott. Mr. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Sabatino.
Here.
Ms. Smith.
Here.
Ms. Stevenson.
Here.
Mr. Thornton.
Here.
Mr. Wilovich. Mr. Haas.
Here.
Ms. Krishnowski.
Here.
Mr. Lombardo.
Here.
You have 9 present.
All right, thank you. Any additions or deletions from the work session agenda? Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted. First, we will have our ARPA funding update. Manager Crocomo.
I think we have Robin from Booth.
Good afternoon, or good evening, rather. Would it be possible to share my screen? I'm gonna share my screen. I'm doing it now, so I'll share it now and let me.
Okay.
And I just want to confirm you all see presentation.
We can see it on the computer up here, but we're
Okay,
we're pulling it
just
up on the
wanna
screen. So just give us 1 second,
Okay.
Ms. Booth. There you go. Okay.
All right, so just want to give you an update at a glance. As most of you all know, with the American Rescue Plan Act, annually you have to submit they call it your annual recovery plan, but it's really your annual performance plan. We completed that plan and submitted it and then of course your county manager submitted it to the Treasury, as well as it should be posted on your website. So by way of an update, we want to go through, just picked a couple of projects from that plan. One of the things that we did throughout this year was we encouraged the various subrecipients that received these grant award dollars to really highlight and emphasize their projects, how their projects really address those COVID impacted issues, disproportionately impacted communities, and really the performance outcomes from those projects. But we want to first just kind of at a glance. And so the report itself is probably 40 or 50 pages because every project is included in that report, and it includes the obligated and expended amount. So that's a very detailed report that's on the website. And actually every municipality across the country that receive these funds have to submit that report and publish it to the general public. This, I wanted to start with kind of this is our internal working document when we're looking at the various allocation of the ARPA funds. Just as a reminder, the county received $112,890,152. Of that, totally allocated or obligated, which is the term that's being used, that's required. The Treasury required that all funds are obligated by December 31st, 2024. And then you have 2 more years to expend them, which I'm sure most of you know. But at this point, we've obligated is $112,467 for $112,467,478.30. And there's approximately $422,000 that's not obligated right now. One of the things that ARPA does allow you to do is for certain types of costs, administrative, legal, you can do what's called an estimate. And actually you can even do it for certain payroll costs if the county elected to use monies for certain payroll programs, especially, for instance, personnel or individuals that are involved in ARPA management. You can actually have an estimate, and that estimate is just a projection, and Treasury will recognize that estimate. So to that end, an amount like $422,000 could be the county's estimate for potential other costs that's not included in the obligation. I think it's been probably close to a year since I've presented before you all. And one of the things that has always happened is ARPA's continue to evolve. So Treasury has continued to update and kind of bring forth relevant issues as this money has been circulated in the economy. And our last update was in October of 2023. And then that update, and then they did another one in August 2024. And then that update, they gave more clarity on the treatment of estimates and a treatment on obligated versus deobligated funds. Now, there's approximately $6 million, and this is off to the right, $6 million of interest income. The council has made certain decisions. There's been certain resolutions and approval on certain projects. New World, $250,000. Road and bridge projects, $1 million, and road and bridge vehicles, $350,000. So there's approximately $4.5 million that the county can ultimately use for ARPA funds. That $4.5 million is not required to be obligated or expended during the same time period. Expended, yes. So really the county has until 2026 to make sure they spend this interest money. This is in addition to the $112,890,000. So this is the interest earned, and it's in addition to the 112. I just want to make sure that that's clear. So then when we looked at internal and external projects, 58% of the dollars the county has allocated to external projects throughout the communities. A large part of that was that $55 million notice of funding opportunities where you had small businesses, nonprofits, municipalities, various projects that got to participate in this once in a lifetime funding. So, and 42% is internal. I know one of the, when you're looking at this though, and you're looking at the internal and external, it's kind of color coded. When even looking at the breakdown, the largest external projects was, as I said, that NOFO, that 54%, that 54 million, that's 49% of the total allocation. So this just, if you use the legend on the right, this just further shows you by projects, administration, airport, council approved. Those council approved projects, they were projects that were approved prior to prior to the actual notice of funding opportunities. So this was kind of like the first bucket of projects before the monies were really distributed externally through the larger NOFO applications. And then, of course, there's been some subsequent projects. I heard one of the citizens, they asked questions about some projects they weren't familiar with. Well, there were some projects that were awarded after the NOFO externally, like the small business, the CEO, and some other projects. So this kind of gives you dollars and kind of how the monies were spent, even externally, so you can understand that. We have approximately 18 clients that we've dealt with the clients for ARPA funds. And I know there was some desire to understand how the city elected to use the funds versus other cities. Now, I didn't want to disclose our clients, so I did it by states where we have clients that exist. So, for instance, in Arizona, California, Georgia, Missouri, Nevada, Ohio, Texas, and Wisconsin. These are other states where we have cities and counties as clients. And based on, we're doing the same type of management for them. And based on that, as you can see, there's some of their internal and external, the internal being light gray. Certain areas did a lot internally. If you remember, I just want to remind you real quickly that your allocation was 58% external, 42% internal. So when you compared it to our experience and our averages, you're pretty close. You're probably on the more positive side for external projects. You may be, and I won't be surprised because we're getting contacted, or we're seeing our clients get contacted by external third parties, foundations, doing studies to evaluate the use of these ARPA dollars. So don't be surprised if you get asked to participate in that kind of study. But even within those kind of studies, some of the feedback that we've gotten actually participating in those studies for clients is that there's a concern about whether those dollars were really used to help disproportionately impacted communities, about whether if they were more so just kind of used internally on projects that may or may not have been directly or indirectly impacted by COVID. So even your mix of 58-42% is probably perceived as a relatively strong mix, because if you go back to the original, I guess the regulations and the whole commentary when they came out with COVID, that was a goal for it to be an investment in internal projects, but also to assist the communities in rebounding and recovering from COVID related. So this just kind of gives you, based on our portfolio of clients, you fall within the kind of the healthy range. So roughly, and I keep saying, you might have seen 147 projects, and I always kind of play around with it to 160 because there's certain council approved projects that happened. There was like 16 or 17. So we are in the process of project closeout. So we've made a lot of, that means that these projects, they've expended their funds. We're closing them out, which is required under federal regulations that grants are closed out. So we've actually closed out 47 internal projects and 47 external projects and non-closeout. And that's really important that we're getting this along. We still have about 140 projects to close out. One of the things, and this is kind of taking you right into our administrative services, we have had to have approximately 40 plus modifications. You all know, because you all have to approve them and you do the work. But prior to us having the packets ready for the county manager to submit to you all, we have to do all of the groundwork behind the scenes. And a lot of times that involves interactions to even understand why they're requesting these modifications. We've conducted 50 plus technical assistance, some of them on site. We considered, and we are not surprised that the technical assistance was needed, because for a lot of the external subrecipients, they had never had federal grants. So as we process the request for reimbursements, and there will be costs that aren't allowable, and we're making sure, and we're doing our due diligence to make sure that doesn't happen. It then leads to like performance. Some very good questions were asked today about one particular project. Well, how long is the lease and things of that nature. So a lot of that, we have to do that, especially on the larger internal capital improvement projects, where engineering is handling multiple projects. There's a lot of procurement activities, making sure that assisting with writing solicitations, assisting with reviewing procurement-related documents, making sure agreements have all of the required clauses before, as a part of the final, even the procurement activity. So that has been a lot of activity. During that, one of the things that we do look at, our team, I'm a certified fraud examiner as well as a CPA, but we also have other teams. There is a high emphasis and sensitivity right now to the federal government on fraud, waste, and abuse. I participated in a panel offered by the American Certified Fraud Examiners panel. On that panel was the Director of Treasury, Treasury is the agency that's overseeing all of this ARPA funding. At that panel, he stated that there's a 54% increase in fraud, waste, and abuse due to the large number of federal dollars on the street. Now you're starting to include those infrastructure dollars and those other dollars. There's some justice, DOJ dollars, and they're going to be holding the recipients, like the counties and the cities and the states that are receiving the dollars. They're going to be holding you all ultimately responsible for ensuring that you're monitoring this. In fact, the county's auditor, just from this program, just requested the subrecipient monitoring procedures that are being used on ARPA projects. And we're anticipating that some of these projects are going to be included in the audit. That's been our experience with everybody else, that is ultimately these ARPA projects are going to be a part of that audit, and they're going to be looking for insurance, looking for documentation and assurance that they comply with uniform guidance. So now at this point, we're focusing in on closing out as many as possible, doing what's called required risk assessments, and then determining what type of monitoring has to take place. And they're the ongoing administrative activities. And then finally, just a couple of projects. We could have picked a lot, and that's a long report, but if you wanted to read, we just kind of pulled out some projects that were complete, really demonstrating how these dollars really have made a difference in Luzerne County's community. This was a $500,000 award. They fed approximately 4,400 meals to homeless, low income. 85% was to local restaurants, so they were getting the meals prepared to local restaurants. As a result, they hired like 11 employees. So what you see is $500,000 being circulated throughout the Luzerne County community, just from this one particular grant. And you hope that it has ongoing economic positive results. As you've hired somebody, hopefully you can keep them, the restaurants helping them to generate revenue. So it addressed so many different, the multiplier within the community, even with this one $500,000 award, was noteworthy. For a local municipality, this is Greater Hazleton Joint Sewer Authority. So Vine Street is complete. Birch and Chapel Streets are now complete. And these were main and laterals being installed. 77 have been, a total of 180 residents have been inspected, 77 have been tagged, and 44 have been corrected. So even once again, you see your $2 million from this ARPA funds directly impacting Luzerne County, addressing some of its infrastructure needs. And these are projects that are complete, which is what you want to see. You want to see that these projects are complete based on their intended project scope. And then for, this is actually for a small business. And even though this is a photographer, she actually renovated a building in a disproportionately impacted area. This was a blighted property. So one of the council members spoke about the property sale and the fact that those properties, you could have gotten them at a great price and ultimately been renovated. Well, this is an example of that occurring, where they took a blighted property, used the ARPA program to renovate it, and then have now actually had, from the excellent work from the contractor, it meets the ADA requirements, and they've been able to do certain things within the community, fundraisers and other things, in addition to being a small business and being able to remain open. So we took a nonprofit, a local municipality, and a small business as an example, but it's over 100 projects that we could do the same type of review on and you would see the positive outcomes. Thank you. That was just at a glance, a highlight. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Booth. Any questions from council members?
Just real quick comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
Thank you, Ms. Booth. That was very helpful, very informative, and more than anything, it informs the public here in Luzerne County how successful the ARPA program has been with the federal dollars, the $112 million that we gave out, particularly that we gave out much more of it to external partners in the county, in needs of the county, rather than keeping it internally, compared especially to the other entities across the country that have done similar things. But thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate it. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Any other council members have comments? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Booth. We appreciate the update.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You as well. All right, moving on. Number 2, discussion regarding the resolution approving the sale of certain parcels of property held in repository by Elite Revenue Solutions, LLC, acting as the Luzerne County Tax Claim Bureau. Council members, the flash drives that are on your desks hold all of those properties, pictures of them, the maps and whatnot. So at your leisure, take a look at them because there's a lot of great information in there. Does anybody have any questions on the repository properties?
I guess just what the citizen brought up, Mr. Lombardo, and I don't know if Attorney Skeen, I don't know if we have any precedent for something like that happening before. What happens when put something out to bid and it actually landlocks another property?
In Pennsylvania, you can't landlock another property. I don't know why he said he has an easement, but that there's a problem. So that's an issue that he would best, since he's a private individual, hire an attorney and have the situation corrected.
Yeah, because, okay, that's helpful, Attorney, because I think really, Mr. Chair, I don't think we should pass that one forward if, obviously, there's some kind of conflict, so.
I agree.
I don't know if we could see that take place on the next voting session agenda.
Yeah, we can certainly have that removed. I don't know if we all agree with that right now, or if we'd like to maybe have a discussion about it at the voting agenda. Is everybody okay?
Agreed.
Okay.
Just vote that night to remove that one item and vote on the rest.
Yes.
So at that night, okay.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions about the repository properties? All right, moving on. Number 3, discussion regarding the Butler Township subdivision. Does anybody have any?
I have
Ms.
Jen
Pecora?
Pecora.
Sorry.
Hi, good evening, council.
You sound pretty loud anyway.
I know, you could usually hear me before you see me. So, yep, that's South County. So I'm just bringing before you, I know we talked about the Butler Township Kingston property subdivision 2 weeks ago at our meeting. Council had asked for some further information. So in the last few weeks, I worked with our mapping department to put together a property subdivision overlay. It is included in the packet. I provide links via email, which they are also on the agenda submittal for the public to see. With our mapping department, Patrick Stein, the deputy of the mapping department, was really helpful. He provided large copies of the maps, which we have in council chambers, and he also copied a large-scale map of the Butler Township zoning map. So if you take the opportunity to look at those maps, it will show you the zoning districts of the parcels that are in question of the subdivision. And I do have along with links to all of this is provided in the submittal, but I do have a part of the zoning ordinance also. It's obviously a few hundred pages, so if you want to reference starting on page 40, it will give you the definitions of the affected zoning areas of the subdivision in the Kingston property. It's suburban residential, rural conservation, and rural agricultural are the 3 different districts. And with that, I've also included the permitted uses, special exceptions, and then non-permitted uses of each zoning district. So that is all included in the packet, and then the maps are all in council chambers. And I'd be more than happy to meet with any of you to answer any questions that you may have. If you need any clarifications, so then you can make a decision if you would like administration to move forward with this project.
Any council members have any questions?
I just do, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Go ahead, Mr. Haas.
I think there was pretty broad consensus that we don't want to go in this direction last meeting, right? Because these are the county-owned properties, has nothing to do with the Butler Township ideas. Do we need to move this forward?
We don't have to, no. I agree with you. It seems like there is a consensus that most council members don't want to.
I have no problem if that's, you're the chair. I don't have
Yeah,
a problem with
however, I mean,
saving time.
maybe I'll go and ask individually every council member if they're okay with it or not
Sure.
okay with it. I know there's some that are not here tonight, and there may be one or two that may want it, or at least want to move forward with it. So, just to give them, the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, absolutely.
Let them,
Absolutely.
we'll.
Just thought.
Mr. Sabatino.
I think the whole point of this is to have a vote on the record of what council wants. So like, I would recommend moving it to the voting session so we could vote on it. And one other thing I'd like to mention is there are special exceptions for these zoning districts, and one of them is multifamily dwelling units. So now we're talking about they could put apartments on this if the zoning board just gives them a thumbs up on this. So I mean, please look over 47, 48, 50, at your leisure, and see what the special exceptions are for this, because it's just a thumbs up, thumbs down on this from Butler zoning.
Well, I was going to say, I think, there's pretty much good consensus on the council. We have residents from the township. We have past and current township supervisors that are not for this, so. And which I'm sure will come up in discussion next time. Thank you, sir.
That's okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Go ahead, Mr. Liscavige.
I personally feel, I'm sure along with a few others, that we should never do anything with this property. I think we should let it be. I'm not in favor of the county dumping this land, any land actually. We're not destitute, we're not hurting for money. It's not going to change our path. In addition to that, I just think we should just let this ride. There might be a time down the road where we may want this property for something. I'm not sure, but they're not making it anymore, that's for sure. So let's hang on to the reserves we have.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, thank you, Ms. Pecor. Moving on. Number 4, receive and discuss division reports for July 2024.
As always, council can follow up with questions, emails, or text messages. I do want to highlight that we are highlighting the ARPA projects for your ease and understanding, and we're also including photographs of some of the projects and some of the issues that we're facing.
I just saw the picture of myself at the prom.
I was going to highlight that one.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, so we have our chair who is singing and dancing at the aging prom.
What page is that on?
That is on
page 48. Oh,
48.
The elderly women love John.
They
really,
love John.
that particular woman really liked me quite a bit.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so, I don't know, were they playing Love is in the Air or something?
It was something like that.
Yeah. So, I hope that the photographs.
That's very sweet, John.
Yeah, it is. It was a wonderful event, and when we have the next year's event, please, as many of you who can attend, please come. It was really great. We have the photographs so that you can see that there are things and action going on throughout the county, highlighting the food pantry for CYS, the training for our sheriffs, and I had the prison actually take pictures of one of the parapets and the roofs. I know we always come and say, this is money for the roof project. We have 16 roofs over at the prison. So we're going to label them now, because I said, what do you mean? We're going back with another roof project. And Jim and Jen and Nick have to remind me that it's not always the same roof. So I hope you appreciate the photographs. We also added on page 74 upcoming events. Children and youth will be having their back-to-school at Kistler Elementary on August 19th from 9 until 4. We will be providing free haircuts, school supply, pizza, and more. And if you want to attend or participate or actually provide some of the back-to-school supplies, please call the number that's given there. Our area agency on aging and our Veterans Affairs are doing projects together at our Active Adult Center. We're starting in Kingston, where they're going to have a pizza party on August 22nd, 2024. So if any of you can attend, that would be really great. There's bingo, which you can't interrupt. You have to participate when you go to the Active Adult Centers. And then the Sheriff's Office, we have multiple national nights out. The next one will be in Salem Township with the Salem Township Police Department on August 14th. We will be conducting a child seat checkpoint at that event. And then we have the third annual Touch a Truck in Harding on September 15th, 2024. So I'm hoping that by adding these events, you can put them on your calendar.
Does anyone know what is Touch a Truck?
You touch a truck.
Like, is there,
It's
there more?
Yeah, it's an event where you go and there will be emergency service vehicles. There's also lots of times there's construction vehicles there, and you can go sit inside them, blow the horn, look at the lights, turn them on, do all kinds of things.
You never touched a truck?
I
That's a personal
digress from this
question, Vice Chair.
conversation. Thank
Now
you.
you have an opportunity now to go. So,
They're really nice. They are really very nice events.
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And I also want to make just a quick comment. I attended the Wyoming Area Regional Police Department National Night Out last night, which was held in conjunction with the Pittston City Police Department and the emergency services in the area. I was there with my fire department, and it was a very well-attended event. And I'll tell you what, I was very impressed with our sheriff's department that was there, and the EMA department was there. So they had a good contingent of people, and I think everybody really appreciated seeing them there. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, my goodness.
Anything else?
I have a couple questions, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Ms. Crowell, we got a letter from that couple. They are having issues, some discussion with the county about services for their disabled son, and we got a letter about that. I don't know if there's, I know you got a billion things on your mind, about receiving, it was, he's in his own home, and the county helps support that. I don't know if we had any, if anything there's to report to them, or.
I can give you a
anything.
report. I'd rather not do that in public.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But I will give you a report.
Okay, yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you for that. We also got a letter, and I didn't know when it was appropriate to share it because it's regarding the elections. I'm assuming everybody got one from Mr. Darbenzio out of Dallas Township. He just wanted to express concern about the elections, just to paraphrase here. He would like to see if, and I know we're in that nebulous area with the election board and the county council, but he's looking at three things. The county would be nice if they could appoint a bipartisan team with relevant experts, determine if we have any vulnerabilities, computer-wise. Number two, if it's a breach of contract, if there's any vulnerabilities that are identified, and that the electronic voting system should be auditable. Which I know we have a lot of these answers, but I don't know if Mr. Chair, what the best approach, we could pass this on to the election board perhaps, to their chairman.
I want to make a statement.
Wants to make a call, if you could, yeah.
Our election bureau
Sure,
is on
please.
top of all those issues. We do an LLA testing, which is open to the public, which is what our electronic marking devices, our ballot marking devices are programmed. We open it to the public. We are very zealous in our safety for this election as we were in the last general election. So I am confident in our Bureau. And what I am going to ask is that council not encourage interrupting the work of the Bureau. We are in the last phase to prepare for this election. And when we are diverted, when our attention is diverted for issues that we have addressed, we've addressed them publicly, we've had the DA come in and review our electronic ballot marking devices, and there is nothing. There has been no fraud in any of our elections. And I can tell you from the last general election, our elections are the best that they have been. And I have received a report today because our Bureau staff, Emily Cook and Steve Hahn, are at a conference, a state conference, and one of the speakers from the state, an election expert, called out Emily to stand up for the work that she has done to totally transform our election bureau. We have nothing to hide. Our elections are pristine. And if people want to continue to raise the banner that Luzerne County elections are not transparent and are not fair, you come to me. You say it directly to me, because they are. And if you continue to entertain this, you're undermining your own county.
Thank you, Manager Crocomo. Anybody else have any comments? And just to, give a word of kudos and congratulations to Emily for being recognized. The work of the Elections Bureau is definitely not easy, and we certainly don't want to make it any harder as council. So glad that they're doing a good job. Looking forward to a great election this year. I'm sure we'll all be participating. And just like to make sure that they're all working together with the administration, the election board, and everything will be great. All right, moving
Can I
on.
just stop you there before you go any further?
Yeah.
You brought up about Pittston. Do you want to just tell everybody about the parade and stuff? You might as well just give them a plug if you would.
About Pittston.
The Tomato Festival?
Oh, the Tomato Festival? Oh, yeah. Tomato Festival. I know that, I don't know if EMA and the 911 Center will be present anymore. I know county officials will be present at the parade and at the festival itself, but it starts on Thursday, 5 p.m., runs until Sunday at, I think, 7 or 8 o'clock. Parade day will be on Saturday, and I believe 10 a.m. is lineup, and there will be multiple county officials in the parade. I believe the EMA and 911 were supposed to be in the parade, but I believe they are probably being diverted because of the rally that'll be at the arena on Saturday. So we always have a good contingent of county individuals at all of our local parades. So I know that the residents are really glad to see that. But this coming weekend is Tomato Festival in Pittston. So
And Pittston City is the tomato capital of the world.
quality tomato capital of the world. Quality.
I stand corrected.
And you could take a tomato out of my garden and you'll know why.
Yeah, but can you touch it?
No.
You can eat it. Go ahead, Ms. Stevenson.
I'm also going to throw a shout out. The Freedom Fighters are doing a backpack giveaway with school supplies for our youth coming up August 17th. It'll be happening from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. At Cole Street Park. So if anyone, family, friends, folks out there with your youth, drop by and get some of those free materials for some of those kids getting ready to go back to school this fall.
What was the date?
August 17th? Saturday, yes. So before you go to the Tomato Festival, or on your way there, grab some goods, help the kids out. Yep, there'll be free food, there'll be fun, there'll be games, and there'll be awesome people to connect with. So support these kids as they get back into school this year.
Thank you, Ms. Stevenson. All right, moving on. Number 5, discussion regarding the resolution approving the dedication of South Beisels Road for public use to Butler Township. Ms. Pecor?
Do you guys mind if I do 5? They're both the same.
Do it up.
Well, I'll be brief. So back in 2021, Butler Township entered into an intergovernmental agreement with the county with the conditions that roads would be repaired, county roads would be repaired in Butler Township, and then Butler Township would then accept deed of dedication. So I have both of those, both the intergovernmental agreement and the ordinance passed by both entities outlining the conditions of the agreement. So about 2 years ago, the county did work on North and South Beisels Road. And for whatever reason, the deeds of dedication were not done. So we worked on the legal descriptions. The Office of Law prepared the deeds and the resolutions. I'm happy to report that Butler Township did have a meeting tonight. They passed unanimously the acceptance of both roads by resolution number 08132024B for North and number 08132024C for South Beisels. So they have accepted both of these roadways, so I'm asking for this to be moved on to the voting session so that we can then deed them these roadways, which we do want to get this done. Just a side note, for liquid fuels purposes, the deeds have to be executed and recorded by September 1st for us to get that information to the state, so then they could do the transfer of the liquid fuels funding for the roadway. So we will no longer have the financial responsibility of them. Butler will take that, and they will get the portion of liquid fuels funding for that. Any questions?
Mr. Haas?
Just a comment. I want to celebrate Butler Township for their courageous leadership in doing this, and we hope that townships and boroughs across the county would take back ownership, because this really helps us out, and I think it's better serves the people that use the roads and the bridges too.
It helps them out too, because they receive more liquid fuels money. So.
All right. Okay, moving on. Number 7, since we already did number 5 and 6, discussion regarding Pennsylvania Game Commission Bureau of Wildlife Habitat Management gift agreement.
I have that one.
Go ahead, Attorney Skeen.
Yep. So, a long time ago, when there was something called the Central Poor District of Luzerne County, which provided mental health services. They had inpatient facilities. That eventually was closed down due to funding in the early 1900s, I believe. And we donated the land to the state, and it became game lands. So a lot of the land is also in a flood area. So over time, they've been unable to identify some of the property that they think we did not transfer to them. And that has come up and become a problem with GIS for the mapping, and a problem with who owns this property. So we believe we deeded it a long time ago. There's nothing that we could find. There's been title reports done, and there's been no evidence that it belongs to us. However, the Game Commission thinks it may. So we would be issuing a quitclaim deed, giving them the interest in any of the property if we have any, and they will just add that portion onto the game lands, and it'll just extend the game lands.
All right. Any questions by council? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to number 8, discussion regarding the resolution authorizing the county manager to execute the sale of a parcel of county-owned property in Dallas Township to Dustin Switzer.
Yep, and in that case, Mr. Switzer was given the proposal packet from the real estate committee. He did everything he needed to do on that, including advertising the property. That's the last step for him to do, and then we vote on that and issue him a deed after he pays us the money for the property. And I believe the sales price on that was $1,000.
Mr. Lescavage?
Once again, I'm not in favor of selling this. We're being offered $1,000 for a property that exists at 21-4. It's a 50 by 50 lot right on 309. I know back when I built...
Oh, Mr. Lescavage, your microphone. Sorry.
I know back when I built my house in West Pittston, a 50 by 75 lot was going for 29,000. So I just think it's not a fair market value for the size of that lot, so I think we should just retain it. Once again, they're not making any more.
But we voted on it because it was moved to the next step where he was given the opportunity to advertise the property.
I understand that, but now we're voting on to sell it, and I just don't think we should go that route. Me personally, I'm not speaking for anyone else. I'm just saying, when something's assessed at 21.4, it sits on 309, it's 50 by 50, that's not a fair market value for that property. We're not in business at all, but we're certainly not in business to give stuff away. I just don't think it's fair to every resident of this county to sell a lot that size for $1,000. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, if,
Mr. Haas, go ahead.
I don't know, was that brought up at the property committee? Because I agree with Kevin so much, something like that. That's a no-go.
Yeah, this was from the committee, and my...
You're correct, it was brought up to the committee. Unfortunately, the committee, and I answered the email, I could never make the 12 o'clock meeting. And it was held at 12 o'clock, so I had no say for that meeting. So unfortunately, I would have voiced my opinion then.
Didn't we, sorry.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
Didn't we vote on this as a council, though, to
I
forward
presume
this
so,
along?
because it was, he went to the advertising schedule, so he wouldn't have advertised without that.
Isn't this the one where he's paying a lot of legal fees, and that's why the price is lower? No. Okay. Sorry.
Any other questions from council members?
No.
Okay. Moving on, number 9, discussion regarding the resolution granting an easement to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation over Luzerne County owned real property in Luzerne Borough. Mr. Vogt?
Good evening. PennDOT reached out to me 3 months ago regarding a project in Luzerne Borough. They needed a piece of property that we own in our right of way. All the maps are in the packet, and I can gather any other information anyone needs. Any questions?
Any questions? All right. Thank you.
I'm 10 too.
All right. Number 10, discussion regarding the resolution approving the sale of property in Luzerne Borough to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania via the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation in lieu of condemnation.
This is the same project. Harry, do you have any info on the condemnation? I really don't. They didn't really send me anything on it other than the paperwork.
Yes, instead of them having to do a condemnation action against us, it would be a settlement. We agreed to accept the amount that they're willing to pay for that. How much was that?
$600.
I thought it was, are you sure that wasn't the easement?
Oh, that's the easement. $1,818.
Yeah, and the property is a small piece of property that used to be a railroad at one time, and the tracks are off of it. It's just a part that they need to expand the road there.
Yeah, it was the old trolley from Wilkes-Barre to Harvey's Lake.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right, last, we have number 11, discussion regarding the Luzerne County Budget Finance and Audit Committee report regarding Luzerne County auditing service for 2024 through 2027. Mr. Thornton, did you want to?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, on page 167, the last page of your packet, I have a report that I authored and submit respectfully here to council for their review in preparation for next public meeting in 2 weeks. Basically, I'm not going to read through the whole report, but the audit committee met several times over the last couple of months, took the necessary steps as outlined, in the charter, administrative code, whatever. And we did have 2 outside auditing firms submit proposals. We were hoping for more, but we did not get more. And I have the rankings of the 2 firms there. If you read the report, the committee ranked both firms, and it's a recommendation to council. Of course, council could vote for either firm. Both firms are qualified. Both have vast experience in conducting countywide audits in Pennsylvania. And not much more to be said there, but we have to pick an auditing firm at the next meeting. And that will be the firm that will be conducting the countywide audit for the years 24, 25, 26, 27. So everybody review that at your leisure, and that's it.
Any questions from council members? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Thornton. That concludes our agenda for the evening. We'll now have public comment. We have one slip for Mr. Griffith.
Just to tack on to Mr. Thornton's comment, what's the recommendation of the audit committee? What was the firm? I don't think you mentioned that.
It was CLA.
Okay, all right, very good, thank you. On my public comment, a real brief, under the division report, I know Romilda gave a quick report. I just want to tell the council as a controller that at your next meeting on the 26th, the county will now have transitioned totally away from ADP and Kronos. It was a project that the county manager took on when she first came on back in May, and it was a huge task for the HR department, budget and finance. The controller's office worked together to get that project off the ground and running. It's going to save the county a considerable amount of money. We were using ADP and Kronos before in conjunction with our financial system. To put all these systems together saves the county about $150,000 or more each year for our annual licenses that we're now going to save because of that forward thinking that can put everything together. But more importantly, on the savings amount of money, it's the integrity of the data that we're trying to protect. So when you take data from ADP and data from Kronos and try to merge it into our financial system, all kinds of things happen to that data in the transition. So the manager decided that it was not a good practice to do that, so we put the team together under Jen Pecora when she was the Administrative Services Division head at the time, and we put this project together to do this. It was a huge task. Still not done. We're going to go live on the 23rd of August in the time and attendance part of it. The payroll part is finished. But it's a huge task. I just want to make it public that, the ability to work together with HR, budget and finance, the controller's office to get this project off the ground and running in, I would say we started this project probably in September or October of last year. So we have only been at it for almost less than a year. Is a huge task. That's a lot of work. So I just want to make that public statement for the division heads and everybody that was involved to get that going. Will we have problems? We'll have hiccups along the way, but for the most part, it's ready to go August 23rd. And we're going to pull the plug and get it started. So just wanted council to know that as, you may hear rumblings from people maybe inside about change, and, change is always not easy. But at the savings and the integrity of the data, we can adapt to the change. It's just going to take some time, and we'll work through it. So just so council's aware that on August 23rd, that's all going to go. Kronos will be going away, and it'll be time and attendance through New World. So thank you to everybody in the county that helped work that through. Division heads, department heads, it was a collaborative effort of everybody to make that happen. So thank you for the manager's forward thinking on getting that done, because it does save us a lot of money. And as the controller, that's one of the things we worry about is saving money. And we just got $175,000 and $150,000, so yay us. Thank you very much.
This would not have happened without Walter Griffith. He went to all the meetings. He kept New World on their toes, and I agree. When we work together, we can do great things, and we can move Luzerne County forward and promote Luzerne County, and that's what we're doing.
All right, thank you very much. We have anybody else in the audience for public comment? All right, we have one person on Zoom, Mr. Rabo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to piggyback off of what I said at the previous public comment about the study commission. I think that if there's going to be any positive outcomes in terms of smooth process and procedures regarding the study commission, there needs to be interworking and intergovernmental cooperation between the council, the administration, the DA's office, and also the other agencies that are interrelated with the county, such as the authorities, boards, commissions. That all needs to be taken into consideration, number one. Number two, and I know that the council and the administration has no bearing in this, but the operations of the study commission must be in accordance with the home rule optional plan law. That has to be paramount. And since the inception of the study commission, Mr. Chair, Manager Crocomo and Attorney Skeen, there has not been, and members of council, there has not been any sort of, following in terms of the guidelines under the home rule optional plan law with the conduct of the study commission hearings. And by the way, I emphasize hearings because study commissions are supposed to have hearings, not meetings, not public meetings, public hearings. And as you all know or should know, public meetings and public hearings are two different things. So that being said, and the 2010 study commission had roving meetings where the public was heavily involved and heavily invested, which hasn't taken place yet. So I would hope that the council and the administration take into consideration that for the vote on the financing, that there would be oversight in terms of by the state. I'm not saying by the county, by the state, because the state has an oversight role and responsibility here for the study commission to ensure that the public has their say and they have the ultimate say. So I hope that that is kept in mind by the study commission because it's being run as a council meeting. And one last thing, Mr. Chairman, why is the study commission meetings, agendas, and meeting minutes under the county council tab on the county website? It should be under the same as the Luzerne County Charter and the former Charter Government Study Commission of 2010. Why is it not under the same tab? I brought that up when when the study commission had their first meeting. Why wasn't that taken into consideration? I think that if Manager Crocomo can work with IT on that and put that under that the proper tab, because that needs to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rabo. We'll try to work on that. Manager Crocomo, do you think we can get a separate tab put on? I know that the website's being revamped right now, so if we can just get something separate, like even on the homepage or whatever, that. Okay. All right, great. Mr. Liscavige?
So tonight, there's been a lot of talk about the ARPA money and what we did with it, and also about the Sheriff's Department, and I've been meaning to bring this up for a long time. There's been some individuals with the Sheriff's Department that has worked here through COVID and still work here, and I would like to see us, if we had some money left, to reward them, because they were people that could not work remotely from their home. They showed up, they transported prisoners, they did everything they had to do day in and day out and put their life on the line. And I think we should find it in our hearts to do something for them, a little extra, if that's possible.
Thank you very much.
We'll work on that. I have to say the Sheriff's Department, when I asked the Sheriff's Department to do something that maybe isn't in the ordinary course of their day, they have never said no to me. Never. And they do the job with such professionalism that we are very fortunate to have the people in our Sheriff's Department that we have, including you, Chase.
Thank you very much to our Sheriff's Department and all of our employees in the county. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
You have to tell me, find out about that $1,000. What the heck's going on with that?
I'm pretty sure that the reason why.
We'll get some reasons before
Yeah.
the meeting comes up.
Yeah.
We have to vote on that one way.
No, yeah, we have to vote on that.
So
But I was under the impression that because it was a quick deed process and this person was going to incur a lot of legal fees, we sold the land for less rather than pay the legal fees to find the deed, like get the deed all sorted out. I think that we did it.
I don't know, what could you do with 50 by 50? You can't build a house.
No, you can't. Yeah. I mean, you could. You could put one of those little